This is a great pleasure to be here talking to those who believe in visually impaired people being capable to train their own guide dogs. Let me introduce myself. My name is Luiz Alberto Melcher de Carvalho e Silva. I'm economist, and I've been working as economics professor for more than 20 years. Today, after retiring as professor, I'm acting as economics researcher at a Workers' Party foundation. Besides dogs, I've been dedicating my spare time and most of my money with horses, which are wonderful guides as well. I might say that I have covered more than twice the Ecuador land on a horseback. I lost my sight at age of 14. Couple of years later, I spent my summer vacation in a small farm close to Rio. There, I came across my younger brother, who was also blind, hoking the necklace of Diana, a female German shepherd, who was guiding him safely all around without any formal training. I found this so amazing that I decided to try. I held the necklace of Menga, Diana's daughter, and started walking around. This didn't work at all. I bumped my head against the first column we passed by. It was a painful way to learn that Diana was an exception. Most of dogs should be trained to be able to guide someone. A couple of months later, I took a German shepherd puppy, also descendant from Diana, as a gift to eventually be trained to be my own guide. I named him as Führer, which means leader in German. By that time, there was no formal guide dog school in Brazil. I wasn't able to get in touch with any guide dog trainer. So, I bought some books in English and Spanish. Then, I imported a harness from Argentina, and finally, I contracted a police trainer called Carlos Brietza, who used to work similarly to a K9 professional in United States. None of us have had any previous experience, though we made every single mistake could be made. This taught us the most precious lesson we could learn in our lives. Dogs guide due to their own ability. Trainers are helpful by not disturbing. Not disturbing, by the way, is the most difficult thing to learn to be a good trainer. Trainers do a great job by showing to the dog that there are visually impaired people and how to help. More than that, they are those who teach impaired people how to be a good user, which means not preventing their dogs from doing their job. Actually, Führer has been guiding me wonderfully until the age of 12. I'm sure he would be able to do much more in case there were free access laws such we've got today. I was too young to fight for guide dog users' rights in a tough manner. I must confess that for many years I hadn't been able to talk about him without getting quite close to tears. Even today, I feel a kind of regret of not being able to give him everything he deserved. 90% of my knowledge about guide dog training are due to the lessons he has given me for his lifetime. The second experience was a yellow female Labrador retriever called Nina. For training her, I invited Sandra Bunganas de Camus, who had never done this kind of job before. This time Nina was the teacher, Sandra was the student, and I took advantage of their job. Nina was the most amusing dog I have ever met. It was impossible to be close to her without laughing. By that time, I was mature enough to impose Nina in many places, since airplanes, cabs, restaurants, and every kind of public transportation. Sure, was on the apex of her productive life when we were able to introduce specific regulation. Honey, granddaughter of Nina, was a black female Labrador retriever who used to think she was a German shepherd. Sure was too serious, too concentrated. She has never been foolish. She was really a special guide dog. I would say that she was like Michael Schumacher, in case if there were a guide dog competition. Honey wasn't an aggressive animal, but she couldn't be considered as gentle. Today, I'm sure that gentleness and maturity are almost a contradiction. I mean, dogs are hunters, and it is impossible to hunt without any aggressiveness. Though, exemption of aggressiveness is usually related with childhood. The job as guide dog requires lots of responsibility, which should not be expected in immature animal. Today, I think trainers and user must be able to deal with some aggressiveness without putting anybody in risk. So, if policemen control their dogs in any kind of environment, a guide dog user might be able to control his own animal everywhere. I'm also confident that trying to get maturity and gentleness at the same animal may be one of reasons for specific schools to waste so many animals. I think guide dog schools drop out so many dogs at first demonstration aggressiveness for two reasons. Firstly, do avoid the extra cost of dealing with one more variable. Secondly, not to have to select a specific skilled user. My fourth guide dog, called Y, was the most beautiful and gentle yellow Labrador retriever I've ever seen. He was a real show dog. He was almost as amusing as Nina in spite of not being her relative. He was a great guide dog. Even so, I consider him as an archetype of how lovely a guide dog can be. I'm sure that many doors have been opened due to his behavior. Since he was a show dog before being trained, he was castrated at age of 3 years. We took 2 litters from him. Though he has produced a real lineage of successful guide dogs, including my 5th one, as shown below. Gulliver, who is still alive, was retired at age of 11. He has been the teacher of Ricardo Pinheiro Machado, who has done the most dangerous tasks, such as crossing streets, getting on and of the subway, and so on. Gulliver is the outcome of outbreeding between Labrador Retriever and Collie. He has been an splendid guide dog, and, as this not to be enough, he's got a wonderful appearance. Although his father to be Merlin, he's black as his mother. Actually, if I were able to start another specialized directed to guide dog kennel, this would be my preferred breeding. Finally, Apollo, my 6th guide dog, is half-blood Rottweiler. He adopted as a street dog. I took him as a thread because down here, there are many people against service dogs, by claiming that this is a kind of slavery. When Apollo arrived, everything would fright him. Noise of the traffic, automobile headlights, carts, everything were scary. It took us, to Regina and me, 9 months to restore Apollo's emotional equilibrium. Apollo has been teacher of Ligia. We didn't have that much difficulty to train him, since Gulliver was still working when Apollo arrived home. This is something which would hardly be observed in regular school, even though I'm pretty sure most of professional have already noticed. Young dogs imitate adult animals as much as they have opportunity. This is the way young wolves are taught in the nature. I've been lucky in this sense, since Apollo imitated Gulliver, who has imitated Y, who has imitated Honey, who has imitated Nina. Besides those 6 animals, whose socialization and learning period I and my wife took part, we can confirm more than 20 other animals we have supervised the whole process. Ava and Meg, Bow German Shepherd. Based upon these 50-year experience, I strongly believe a good amount of visually impaired people are fully capable to train their own animals. I strongly recommend that training in dangerous situations should be delegates to a normal sight professional to prevent human and animal to be hurt. Guide dog schools will continue being necessary in spite of any technological advance there might be. This is because there are unskilled user, or the candidate just don't have infrastructure and enough time to dedicate to this job. I'd like to finish repeating the words I used during the public consultation for the federal regulations for guide dog using in Brazil. We must keep in mind that self-trained guide dogs exist since the human been first domesticated a wolf, probably 10,000 years ago. Guide dog schools, however, have no more than 120 years of activity. We should never look down those dogs who dedicate their lives to serve their masters, in spite of never been stepped into a formal school.